Good afternoon, and thank you all for being here. I'm honored to introduce a true giant of progressive leadership in New York, former Assemblymember Dick Gottfried. For more than 5 decades, Dick Gottfried represented Manhattan with integrity, intellect, and unwavering commitment to justice. As the longest-serving member of the New York State Assembly and the longest-serving legislator in the state of New York, he didn't just witness history, he helped shape it. His career stands as a testament to what government can achieve when guided by compassion, courage, and a deep belief in human dignity. Assemblymember Gottfried was a pioneer in the fight for universal health care, authoring and championing the New York Health Act to guarantee coverage for every New Yorker. He fought for LGBTQ equality, reproductive freedom, tenant protections, and patient rights. His leadership helped make New York a national model for the progressive policy, not through rhetoric, but through results. Yeah. He understood that good policy is about people, ensuring families can seek a doctor without the fear of bankruptcy, protecting tenants from displacement, defending civil rights, and affirming that every New Yorker deserves respect and opportunity. At a time when our nation faces profound challenges, Dick's legacy reminds us that progress is possible when we lead with principle and persistence. He has shown generations of public servants what it means to govern with integrity and to put people before politics.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Please join me in welcoming a trailblazer, a champion for working families, and a lifelong advocate for a more just and equitable New York, former Assemblymember Dick Gottfried.
Well, thank you very much. In our community, we actually have for many, many years been represented both not only in the Assembly, but in the City Council, in the State Senate, in Congress, by really terrific, strong, smart, progressive, activist elected officials, including in the City Council for many, many years, going back to Christine Quinn and Corey Johnson and Eric Botcher. And we now have an opportunity to continue that terrific tradition by electing Carl Wilson. Carl worked for Council Member Corey Johnson. He worked for Council Member Eric Botcher and really learned not only an enormous amount about our community, but importantly, for someone who's running for the City Council, he learned how the City Council operates and how city government operates. I learned a lot about how the Assembly operates, but every legislative body is different. And the fact that we have a chance to elect a council member who from day one, when he's sworn in, will know the ropes and know how to make the City Council work for our community is enormously important. And when Donald Trump was first elected, a lot of people in our community said, we've got to do better, and organized what was really in history the first progressive, activist, community-based Democratic club in Hell's Kitchen. And one of the key activists in organizing and promote and achieving the success of that new activist Democratic club was Carl Wilson. And that club is HK Dems. We now have the opportunity to continue our tradition of having a smart, activist, progressive, community-oriented, hardworking, knowledgeable member of the City Council representing us, and that's Carl Wilson. And I hope you will all join me in doing everything we can to elect Carl Wilson as our city council member. Thank you.
Carl Wilson. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I'm Carl Wilson, and I'm running to be the next council member for District 3. I want to begin by recognizing somebody who is truly special, and that is Assemblymember Dick Gottfried.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Dick is a trailblazer, and for more than 50 years served in the New York State Assembly, and I think you're the longest serving legislator in New York State history, correct?
Yep.
Yep. And before it was cool, before it was politically convenient, Dick was out there leading the fight for universal health care, LGBT rights, tenants' rights, reproductive freedom, and women's rights.
Yes.
Dick has shown how you can serve with integrity and fight for a more equitable city and a more equitable state. And it certainly is more fair, more equitable, more kind because of your leadership. And I'm deeply honored to have your support in this race. It means the world to me. And I promise that I'm going to work as hard as I can to live up to your example. My story is a little different than Dick's, but it is rooted in the belief in public service. In fact, my parents were public servants, and they instilled in me in a young age that if you care about your neighborhood and your community, the best thing you can do is to step up and to serve. I moved to New York, though, to be an actor, and I lived that life for a while. I auditioned during the day. I waited tables at night. I hustled. I lived paycheck to paycheck, just trying to make it in the city that I loved. But I also learned that this can be a hard place to stay and build a life. But everything changed for me in 2016, after the disastrous results of the presidential election. I felt a deep sense of despair and urgency about the state of leadership in this country. I felt that people who care deeply about government, politics, civics, and history have got to get off the sidelines and join the fight. So what did I do? I grabbed a clipboard and started organizing. I went to every organizing meeting that I could find, and eventually, with a ragtag group of activists, created the Hell's Kitchen Democrats. We took on entrenched political power in the form of the McManus Club that was no longer serving the interests of this community. We fought them, we won, we elected new district leaders, and 10 years later, we are still a progressive home here on the West Side and a thriving club. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of that. That experience taught me what's possible when neighbors come together, organize, and demand change. I've spent the better part of a decade working in the New York City Council, most recently as Chief of Staff to Councilmember Eric Bottcher, where I worked block by block with every neighbor, every tenant leader to help deliver for this community. With Councilmember Bottcher, we passed landmark environmental and gun safety legislation, we organized tenants, we pushed back against abusive landlords, and we created a pipeline of thousands of units of affordable housing. And I want to build on that work. So now I'm running for City Council for District 3 because this district needs a fighter, someone who is ready to confront the problems that face our city. We have an affordability and housing crisis that is pushing our city to the brink. We need to expand our affordable housing supply. We need to be creative about how we are going to convert commercial buildings to residential, how we're going to build new housing, and how we're going to protect folks who already live here. We need to make sure that working people, families, and seniors and artists are not being pushed out of the neighborhoods that they helped build. We've got to support our small business community, which is the backbone of our neighborhoods. And we need to lift up the art and artist economy here and make sure we have a thriving art sector. And we can do that by building more artist housing, just like we have right here in Manhattan Plaza, which is an anchor here in Hell's Kitchen. We also need to defend the most vulnerable among us. We need to make sure that our immigrant communities and LGBT communities are protected under this horrific threat from the fascist regime in Washington. We need to make sure that they are protected and not targeted and will not be erased. I am proudly the only serious LGBT queer person running in this race. And I think that perspective matters. I think that voice matters on the city council in the district that is home of Stonewall and the birthplace of the LGBT rights movement. We have got to do all that we can to make sure that this neighborhood remains a safe place for people to come and be themselves and thrive. This campaign is about fighting for the future of New York City. It's about making sure the people who built this community can stay, but it's also about creating opportunity for the next generation of New Yorkers who can move here or be born here and stay and create a life here. It's also about continuing the legacy, the progressive legacy of leaders like you, Dick, and who showed us what it means to serve with compassion and courage. I want to thank you for your leadership, and I want to thank you for your trust in me. Thanks so much. And I also want to thank all of you here today, because this is a grassroots campaign, and I'm going to need everybody to be out there with me, knocking on doors, making the phone calls to help get us over the finish line. But I'm ready to fight with you. I'm ready to serve for you, and I'm ready to be your next council member. Thank you all so much.